So, my friend, I want to ask you, have you been listening to some of my podcasts for a while and identified for yourself all the areas that you feel your business could be better in? Maybe you just are so busy you haven't yet mastered the working as much as you like bit. Or maybe you're just not bringing in the money, like you're struggling with the income, or it's just not enough. Well, it's time for us to have a conversation. In the show notes, there is a link to my evolution call. If you're a dance boss and you are ready to take action, let's have a chat and let's see where I can take you. Hello and welcome, lovelies, to the Ultimate Dance Business Podcast. My name is Deborah Laws, the dance business expert. My passion is to help you turn your passion into profit while guiding you to work less and earn more. I'm super excited to share interviews with you that I know will inspire and motivate you in your schools, as well as my solo shows where I shall be sharing some great tips and strategies. So if you love the show, please do remember to review, subscribe, and share it with your fellow dance boss friends. So let's get stuck into the business of dance. I am so thrilled today to have this beautiful, beautiful woman that is in front of me. I hope you're on YouTube because her background looks spectacular compared to mine. Welcome, Dawni Baxter, to the Ultimate Dance Business Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I love it.
And I have to tell my audience, I'm feeling a little bit anxious today because Dawni does a lot of things. She's an amazing person. I'm going to get her to tell you all about what she does very shortly, but she's also a podcast host. She helps other people to create podcasts. So I'm like, is my sound right? Have I got my settings right? Because this is a lady, actually first person on my podcast that knows about podcasts. So, tell us all about what you do, Dawni, because you have to do a lot, don't you? You cover a lot of bases in business.
I actually do. And what's really interesting is I don't have a professional microphone in front of me right now. I decided that the computer audio would be fine on this machine. And I think when it comes to podcasting and actually anything that we do when it comes to visibility in our businesses, we do worry about that stuff. And there are so many different variants and ways of getting a job done. And if it's okay, and it's going to work and it's going to be good enough quality for what you need, you really don't need to worry. And I find this a lot when people come to do podcasts with us. They'll be like, oh, we need everything to be absolutely perfect. And we'll be like, okay, but what is the end result that we need? And what's the quickest, best way to get there rather than tying ourselves up in knots? But yes, thank you. That was a lovely introduction. And it's a very, very difficult, you've got me with a blinder straight away. It's a very difficult question to ask what Dawni does because she seemingly does a bit of everything. And this is why I coined the term and trademarked the term multi-potentialite. I don't know if you've ever heard me use that before, but one of my companies is called Multi-Potentialite. And that is because I realized quite early on in my entrepreneurial journey, and entrepreneurs in general do tend to leak into other areas. Once you've got the bug for entrepreneurialism, you don't necessarily stick in one place. But yeah, I realized quite early on, I can't touch parts of the industry without also learning and knowing more about other parts, which means that I'm always constantly kind of getting into different arenas. To make it very, very clear, I just tell people that I work in high level performance, mental health, wellbeing, and like coaching, I guess is the right way. It's positive psychology really, but coaching is what people understand in one area of my business. And that just basically means that I'm a mentor for frazzled but absolutely incredible entrepreneurial women. That's it. Like, I am a safe place to land. And we work on learning about ourselves, our inner journey, what it is that actually drives us. We do all of the personality tests. We do all of the human design. We do everything that positive psychology gives us as tools. And we kind of package that together to get a unique blueprint into the type of personality you are and what it is that you need to do to drive your strategy in your own very specific, unique way. And then on the other side of things, I have an all singing, all dancing digital marketing agency that ranges from content creation, podcasting, as you said, everything to do with podcasting, everything to do with visibility, social media, advertising, just everything you could possibly think of. We've got a full graphic design team, full videography and edit team. And yeah, we just like to do everything we can to help people with top level strategy, and just giving people the opportunity to carve their own brand out into the world, but in a way that doesn't kind of change how they want to live their lifestyle. And we like to think that we are the kind of cross section between soul and science, because what we tend to do is we look at data, we look at the scientific stuff, we look at all of that, but we actually take the brand and the people behind the brand, and we make that the kind of jet fuel that gets people to where they want to be in their business. Because never once have I met anybody, whether it be just a friend or a collaborator in business, or whether it be a client, I've never met anybody who said to me, I really went into this because I wanted to work 80 to 100-hour weeks, hardly pay myself, and yeah, get frazzled and burnt out 3 times a year and have to, you know, take 2 weeks off to rest and worry and stress about money and all of that stuff. Nobody. We all went into this with a passion or a purpose or a lifestyle that we were trying to work around. And so we try to basically knit all those bits together. And it happened very organically for me. I never expected to be in the businesses that I am, or to have the offers or services that I have. I realized that my clients needed this, and then they needed a bit of this. And actually, in order to get them there here, it would be good if I went and trained in this. And that's how it's grown and grown and grown. And it is nothing short of a beast.
Well, because you've gone in all those directions. And the funniest thing is, Dawni started off by telling me about her first company, the wellbeing, and the, you know, the way that you support and I'm like, I didn't even know about that one. I didn't even know that existed, that company. And I know quite a lot about what you did. I was like, oh, that's another one. I mean, I don't think you mind. You've told me, and I hope this is public knowledge and you don't mind talking about it, but I know you've talked about the fact that you have ADHD. Do you think that this is part of that superpower? The fact that you do go, oh, do you know what? If I want to be really good at that thing, I also need to learn about that. And now, because I've got an entrepreneurial brain, that other thing that I need to learn about could also be monetized. And before you know it, you've got this kind of network of different ways that you support people.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you were to break me down like a Lego brick, the ADHD brick would be the brick that is responsible for all of my success.
Wow. And that's so lovely for those people that listen, that are still getting to grips with, you know, a self-diagnosis or an official diagnosis, because it's something we've obviously spoken and learned a lot more about in the world in the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So for people to, you know, be coming to terms with the fact that they think maybe they do have an ADHD brain, you know, the success that can come from that is bonkers, because you can see so many parts of everything. So, I mean, I think I'm going to have a separate conversation with you about that first business, because I think I might need a bit of that too. Like, I mean, just letting everybody know, Dawni and I have been working together in the past year. And for those of you that follow me on social media and have seen the journey that I've been on the last year, Dawni and her company have been very much behind the scenes and responsible for creating a lot of my images, my content, my photos, you know, and really fabulous, exquisite photographs and content that you've created for me. And yeah, thoroughly enjoyed. Don't think you'll be getting rid of me anytime soon. But I think one of the things, Dawni, that I've noticed from you, and I wanted to ask your take on it and to share some of your magic, is funnily enough, not even about the photos or the content or what you've created. What's really struck me being a client of yours is the customer care. It's the amount of care that you invest in every person and every project you put out there. It honestly, it gives me goosebumps, everybody. It's like, I feel like I'm Dawni's only client. Like I'm the most important person in the world. And when you have multiple clients and you are doing multiple things with multiple businesses, that's incredibly hard to be able to make someone feel like that. And I know that's not probably what you thought we were going to talk about today, but where does that come from? How do we create that? And what tips do you have for people on that?
Well, thank you for that. That is the sweetest thing you could have said to me, and honestly makes me so, so happy. To be honest, it is something that I think has always been within me. It didn't matter which job I had, even like the 15-year-old me working as a chambermaid, or the 19-year-old me working in H. Samuel. Like it was always kind of there. But especially at this point now, the emotional investment, and I'll tell you as well, there is a hindrance to it. And actually, it's so nice to hear you say that that's such a lovely thing for me to hear, because I think I've spoken in the last year, maybe even the last two, more about the sacrifice and hindrance of being that emotionally invested with each client. But it's just a case of, at this point for me, we really truly believe in every single product and service that we have. So then when we're looking to partner, and I do feel like everything that we do is incredibly collaborative, because it's sweet of you to give me and my girls so much kudos, but you came with a very strong understanding of what you needed, and you are the best type of client in terms of you're very open, you have communication, you're also very sweet to us. You would not believe the way we're spoken to sometimes. Like the love that comes back from you is there as well. And that's what makes this perfect relationship storm, where it really, really works. It's not always like that. But for us, when we have 90% of our clients that are, like you in terms of that great client behavior and that level of professionalism that comes back to us, it's actually incredibly easy. And we do care. It's really that simple. It's that simple. Like, I've had many, many, many high level coach experiences where I've gone to be mentored, and I've been told that one of my weaknesses is that. I've been told over and over and over, your heart's too in it. You fall in love with your clients. If your clients don't get the results that you were hoping you to get, you don't sleep at night. That's a hindrance. When you grow and you have 100 clients, you won't have emotional capacity for that. Cut it off, shut down the artery, cut it out. And I just cannot. I'd rather work with less people and still care. Because I really do think that's what makes us different. And it is just as simple as, we believe in the people that we work with. If we've taken you on to our, kind of framework, our heart is already in it. It's already there. We can see what you see. Maybe we look at it from a different angle, because that's why you hire us, to give you another insight, right? But we can still see what it is that you see, and we're on board. We've grabbed a paddle, we're in the boat. Do you know what I mean? So it comes really, really naturally. But I love the fact that you said that you feel like you're my only client, because we are rammed busy right now. So if you felt like that, that's a really, really good thing. But it just comes from the fact that we do actually give a damn, and we juggle as well. Like, we put the priorities of our people first, and it's like another thing I've found in this industry, it's very difficult to have a normal 9 to 5 employee situation. Okay. And there are going to be lots of digital marketing agencies out there screaming from the rafters when they hear this, because they try to make digital marketing, all the level of support that we give, into a 9 to 5 enterprise, like it's a corporate thing, like it's a retail shop. like it's a healthcare service. But our entrepreneurs are not working 9 till 5. Our entrepreneurs are doing events on a Saturday. Our entrepreneurs are up until midnight. They're making sales pages for an offer that they thought about 2 days ago, but they know they have to act quick because it has to be out in another 2 days. And that's one of the things that we do. We do flexible working. Our studio is only open kind of normal work hours, but behind the scenes, we will work late for our American clients. We've done all-nighters before when we need to. We will put in the work where the work is due. And we're not the cheapest. We're not. You can go and get social media services for half the price that we quote at, but we are the best, and that's why we're the best.
Yeah. And I think it's really relevant to my audience because people listening are already the most passionate, caring people in terms of their students and their pupils. And so in order to give them that belief that as your business grows, as your school grows, and you go from having your first 20 students to your first 200 students, a lot of people come to me with a real bottleneck in their mindset saying, I don't really want to get any bigger. I don't want to really get any bigger because I don't want to lose the personal touch. So it's really nice to know that you can still care and make your students feel like they are your most important student, even if you have 200 students or 500 students, because at the end of the day, that caring, that nurturing, that being genuinely invested in somebody else's journey comes from us, the heart, doesn't it? And that, as you said, is you as a person. That filters then through into your business, but keep it there, folks. Like, don't lose that.
And make sure that you're taking care of your capacity, because when you get to a point where you're actually struggling with that is your own emotional well running dry, and this is where the other side of the business, this is where multi-potentialite came in for me, babe, because I got to a point where I realized I'm helping these incredible women reach their own personal emotional ceiling, and we hit that ceiling quite quickly when we grow, whether we grow internally, for personal development, or whether we're growing the business, which, they go hand in hand, but we do that, we hit a ceiling. And then that's where that comes from. Like, I don't have the capacity to individually take care of every single person in my orbit. Well, no, you don't right now, because you're not in that energetic expansion that allows for that. You're also often very, very buried down underneath the busy work, and this is where people start talking about outsourcing. They start talking about other things. The problem with that, though, is that delegating and outsourcing are two very different skills, and they will fail 10 times, 50 times, 100 times before you get it absolutely right. And those of us that have worked with many teams and worked with many people, it's a bit like dating. You go, you test it out, the energy is not right, you don't expect to fall in love straight away, you don't expect for that connection to be ultimate and special straight away. But when it comes to outsourcing or delegating or having team support you, we expect that it will be amazing. First, they're the right price, they seem to know what they're talking about, let's go. Sometimes it does happen like that. Love at first sight does occur, but a lot of the times you have to test it, you have to tweak it, and then once you get to that point, you can start thinking about your own capacity. When your own cup is full, it's very easy to take care of other people.
Yeah, great insight and great, really relevant, because a lot of the people I work with don't come to me because everything is hugely successful and they've got all the time in the world. They come to me because they've reached their absolute max. They've reached breaking point. They're, overworked, overwhelmed, and they kind of need all that sorting. And when you are stuck in the midst of all that, it's really hard to be able to still give yourself emotionally, isn't it? It all starts to disappear. Dawni, I'd love to know the background that led you to where you are. Like, how has your journey got you to being a multiple business owner, digital content creator, speaker, all the things that you do? Where did that all start from? Because you mentioned H.M. Samuels and you mentioned being a chambermaid. Like, tell us a little bit about your backstory.
Well, interestingly, and this probably won't surprise you, I am a theatre kid. So that's the first kind of thing you need to know. I was on stage doing ballet at 6 years old. I was on stage at 15 in the main part of the school play. Like that's the basis of everything. I also had an incredibly creative, interesting, bohemian father who sadly has passed now. But as a like child, he was wildly influential, incredibly charismatic, and I expect ADHD and if not all autistic. Like obviously we'll never know now, but now that the information is out there and we're all learning so much more, things start to connect, don't they? So I very much was a jack of all trades from a young age. You could throw me into any job. You could throw me into any situation, any room, and I was a bit of a chameleon for that room. Now I realize now that that's also to do with my ADHD, possible autism. Like I get that now. I'm unable to adapt to social situations because as a small child, I didn't understand social situations, so I had to mask. So I didn't realize where that skill came from, but I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth here. It's still a gift, it's helpful. At college, I did drama, I did singing, I did all sorts of fancy things. And then throughout my kind of time, I fell into retail and sales through jewellery. I don't know if you know about retail when it comes to jewellery, but often it's more salesperson focused than your normal high street store. So I worked for H. Samuel and was promoted to duty manager at Ernest Jones for a bit. So yeah, I did my time at Signet and then elevated to the best jeweler in the UK, Beaverbrooks. I don't know if you've heard of them. You should have because they are great. And yeah, I spent a long time at Beaverbrooks, like over a decade, with them in store and eventually at head office. I had a front row seat to all of the high class luxury brands that they worked with, which was a real education. I was able to understand how products were made, how these different brands came in with their products and pitched them, how we then, rolled that out to our teams across the country. I was heavily involved in a lot of like small creative pursuits while I was there, which was just such a beautiful education. And I fell in love with branding. I fell in love with the way that you can support people in buying in to the story of a brand and how that then kind of elevates everything. And then I went and got pregnant with Jack and went on maternity leave. And whilst I was on maternity leave, couldn't sit still, ADHD, couldn't sit still. So I started a small company called Pretty Home Prints. Just around the same time as people on Instagram were building those new home accounts, where it was, it was the time of Mrs. Hinch. We're talking 2017 here, and everything was kind of like perfect grey millennial home, and they needed to make their pictures of their homes different every single day. And I realized there was a demand there. So I went and did a graphic design small qualification and started building prints that they could buy on eBay. Then I built a website in a night, went on Shopify. I created my first ever membership and subscription where people could sign up and have 3 or 4 different prints sent to them every single month. And I very quickly marketed that whilst on maternity leave with a tiny baby. Jack was nil. And accidentally fell into a 6-figure business, which then people saw me online. I started doing clothes ranges. I was making t-shirts. I was making positive affirmation cards, tarot cards. I was just designing. I was spending all of my nights drawing on my iPad or building on, my Adobe Creative Suite. And yeah, it just got a bit insane. And then people came to me and said, right, Dawni, I can see what you're doing with your business. Could you help me out with my Instagram? Because my Instagram isn't really flowing and I don't know what I'm doing. So I ended up doing a few speaking gigs where I helped people figure out how to do their Instagram, which turned into clients wanting me to do their Instagram. And then I realized I was going to have to train up some team to help me because I had more people coming to me than I could muster. And that's where the snowball began, really. And people say to you, I don't know whether you heard this as well, darling, but people say to you quite often, your third year or fourth year in business are your hardest years. And it actually was year 6 for me that was my hardest year, which was only just last year. That was my hardest year last year. And that was just because the evolution, I don't really have a choice. It's its own entity, and I just do what I can to take care of it. A bit like a digital love child. I just take care of it the best that I can and provide what needs to be provided for it to continue to thrive. So yeah, it was almost like a happy accident. But I am a lifetime learner. So like what I was saying at the beginning with the multi-potentialite thing, I won't just say, okay, so that's an area that we need, but I don't know how to do that, so I will outsource experts for that. I have to know myself. So I'll outsource experts, absolutely, but you can guarantee that whilst the experts are covering the demand of my clients for the first 3-6 months, I will be out there, I will have invested, and I will be gaining some sort of qualification so that I can also do that thing, or at least I know it well enough to be able to manage the people that do.
I am just going to pause here for a second because I just want to check that you know all about my new software, Dance Business Solutions. And if you don't, then I would love to show it to you. You can book a demo where I will show you around the magic that I have created in Dance Business Solutions, and you can see just what it will do for your business. So from websites to selling events to managing your customers, managing your inquiries, creating surveys, planning your social media, like it does a gazillion things. And they're all very exciting because I have pre-built most of it for you already using my wisdom and expertise as a dance business coach. So go to dancebusinesssolutions.com as soon as you've finished listening to my podcast and click on book a demo. And I cannot wait for one of my team to show you around. Yeah, and I think it's so important that before you delegate, you understand something. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to become an expert in this system or an expert in that area of the business, but at least have an understanding. Because otherwise, how do you lead that person? And if it's your business, they're always going to need leading, even if they're experts, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one thing that I think is very interesting when you're thinking about having some kind of collaboration or team situation, if you're outsourcing or anything like that, is that, you can get the best personality hire and train them up. And that's often spoken about quite a lot in our industry and online. Like, don't go for the person who's just the expert, go for the personality hire. I've learned you can go for the expert and help to mold them into, a teammate. And that's actually not as bad as people make it sound. You can hire a personality hire. I've always been a personality hire and train them up, but you can't force them to have the motivation or to have the care or to have, the purpose and passion that you might have. So they do need managing. Always. The leadership part never goes away.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've managed to build a team that are or what feels to me, so aligned with you and your vision and how you like to run your business. Is that because you hire the personality before you hire the expert? Is it because you go at it that way round?
I would say, you've met Mark, my glorious photographer. Mark was my expert hire. Mark was hired on his skill. And then it just so happens that he had, the right personality for us to be able to click and for him to fit in the team. Almost every other person that I've hired in the company or freelances for me in some degree has been a personality hire. And again, there are pros and cons to that. but having people that actually care, that want to be involved, that have the right attitude, that, you know, are just good people through and through, you actually cannot discount how important that is. And the problem with all things when it comes to business is the evolution. So we've had many people that have come to us for a reason or a season, and they've made us better and they've left. And we've had many people that have come to us and they've grown with the business and they're part of the wallpaper. And you have to be prepared to lovingly embrace both, you know.
Part of the wallpaper. I'm not going to tell your team you just called them wallpaper.
They know, they're well aware. The ride or dies are well aware. But yeah, it's things do evolve. And actually, I think one of the key things that I did learn through my hard year last year is that the things that are constant will always be constant. I'm a constant. You know, I have a certain amount of team members who are a constant, and they might shift, they may change ever so slightly. But it doesn't mean that they'll, like fully go. And then there is a tide of other things, both with clients and with team. And what is really exciting is meeting the opportunity that gives you, because without that flow, without that adaptability in your business, you don't get new things, you don't get new opportunities, you don't meet new people, you don't meet the next evolution of what your teams could be. And I think that's really important. And I think sometimes for all of us as business owners, especially in the digital space, we are so kind of hyper focused on stability, often because of financial stuff. We're trying to find a stable financial kind of baseline, which is a beautiful thing to focus on. I'm not suggesting that we don't, but we can sometimes get ourselves in this idea that if we build this rigid framework, then we can just rinse and repeat that, and we'll just play that same thing, and the tune will play again, and we'll dance again, and all will be fine. That's not actually how it works. Every single week, month, year in your business, something is changing outside of it that affects demand or affects the way your clients are behaving or whatever, and internally with your team, with the structures, with the products, with the offers, with it, whatever. It is a movable feast. It's never going to be this rigid, strict thing. And it might work for 6 months, and it might work for 12 months. It might even work for 3 years. But at some point, something's going to shift. And the businesses that survive are the ones that are early adopters to adaptability.
Yeah, that is such wise insight, Dawni, because a lot of the people that I coach, a lot of dance studio owners, I'm sure actually it's the same across any business, just this is my business, are absolute, and I love you all, everybody, but you're absolute control freaks. And the control really does come from the fear of, I need to make sure that this is working, that everyone's happy, that the money's coming in. Like you mentioned, the stability. So people do build a very solid structure, sometimes to the extent, like I sort of touched on earlier, that they don't want to grow. They don't want to bring in teachers to help. They don't want to outsource. They don't want to change the system because what they've got works. Like there's a real rigidness about the way they're running their schools and their studios. So I really love the way that you talked about it being like a tidal, like a wave that comes in and it goes out. And if you can stand there and go with that, if you can be fluid, if you can let things organically change, if you have that underlying understanding that it's not all going to stay the same forever, that we have to be adaptable, and that is going to be a super strength if you can embrace that. The strength is not if I'm really tight and I really control things, nothing will go wrong. Actually, the strength is being adaptable. Yeah. Like that's a fabulous thing for everybody to go away and think about today. Where are you holding tight to something where actually, if you allowed a bit more adaptability, allowed change, allowed that ebb and flow of things coming and going, then maybe we would be less stressed running our businesses, because being a control freak brings a lot of stress, right?
And it manifests physically. It manifests in burnout and in the way that you sleep and everything. And then that's just a downwards spiral.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so obviously a big part of what you do, but it sounds like actually there's lots of big parts of what you do. I've learned more now. But a lot of what you do is social media. You've done some social media for me leading up to my boardroom bar launch. And all the beautiful photos that you guys might have seen this year have all been down to Dawni and her fabulous team. Oh, wonderful husband has brought me a cup of tea. I can share my
Yay.
coffee with you. Cheers.
Darling.
So social media is at least the part that I've been touching on a lot. So if we were to just throw out now, so this is a bit more casual, throw out 3 areas of topics for you to give people a tip, a quick bit of strategy, a quick bit of guidance, around growth, around proving who they are, their credibility, and around building something that's consistent and long term. What would you say in terms of growth? Top tip in terms of growth using social media?
Okay, top tip, and this is very simple, and it might sound like I'm preaching to the converted, but it is something that needs to be readdressed because we forget. You have to be active. It's that simple. So obviously, Deb, like we do a lot of base content for clients. We do a lot of high-end stuff, polished stuff that is really helpful in maintaining authority, agency, visibility across the board, gives activity points, all of that. Great, right? What we do for our clients, excellent. But it lives over here and it does not substitute you, the person who owns the social accounts, the person who benefits from the business doing well, actually taking some time and also being active. Okay, nobody can take that and take it off you. It's really that simple. An excellent situation is when you have people like us or a person in your team or whatever that is maintaining that level for you so that you have capacity to do all the things without it being a stressful situation. And then you allow yourself to still be active at the same time. It also means, chatting to other people, being social on social, like we used to be before I shouldn't swear, before we twisted it into being just a business activity, the way we used to show up. One of the things that people say to me quite regularly when they look at my own social media, which by the way, you should never, please don't judge me by my own because I'm busy dealing with my clients. Yeah, but if you were to judge me by my own, you'll see that especially on Facebook, I am very much still the person, not just the business on my own personal profile. Yes, I've switched it to a professional setting, but I'll come on and tell you what I had for my tea last Thursday. I'm still using it like it's, 2007. And strangely enough, that's how it works best. By not trying to, take all of the personable part away, being polished, having a great professionalism in your business, fantastic. But don't forget to just be active on it. It's meant to be social.
Yeah, be the human behind the business. Just don't push forward the business. Yeah, love
Yeah,
that.
allow yourself to have a conversation about the movie that you went to see last week, or, post a picture of the cocktails you had with your girls on Friday night. Like, don't be scared to let that be a little bit muddy. That would be my first thing when it comes to growth. Obviously, there are practical tips like video is king. Don't neglect your stories. I don't know why stories are still working, but my lord, they are. So all hail the stories. And posting natively. We use schedulers in our agency. And I know, obviously, your amazing system that you have for your clients as well has a scheduler. Great. Do use them. They're fantastic. Every now and then, though, throw a video on direct because they like it. Okay. It's just that simple. Using edits on Instagram right now, that's what they love. So feed the beast a little bit every now and then, have a little sacrifice, and you'll find that you get a really well-rounded visibility in growth for doing those things. And just simple things like everybody will know, like if you're gonna do a native one, do some trial ones because they're loving those at the moment, and use some trending sounds and just, you know, every now and then throw that in. But if you've got your base content sorted, like what, you know, my agency would do, or an agency similar, or you've done it through your scheduler, through your business operation system, then you know you can play and have fun with that, and that's the best way to do it. You do the fun stuff, outsource the very strict stuff, and you do the fun stuff.
Yeah, I love that. And if we are trying to build, you know, if we are one of 17 dance schools in a 2-mile high street, and we're trying to build the credibility, the school to go to, what are some tips that people can do that might elevate them above everybody else? Is it just being seen more, or are there other things that people should think about?
Well, it's the way that you're seen. So I think what you need to understand about your own business, especially in a high volume competitive area where location does make a difference to your bottom line, is you need to consider where you are in the market. Okay. So it's like the difference between Marks and Spencer's and Aldi, right? If you are a dance school that is looking to be RADA level respected, and everything is, you know, very polished, very clean, and totally serious in terms of dance as not just a theoretical but an actionable professional standard, then you need to recognize how you are doing that visibility. Are your social media posts uniformed? Is your branding strong? What's the emotive response behind the colors, the fonts, the visual aspects that you've chosen? If you went to somebody and paid £25 for them to build you something on clip art, you're not going to look in the market at that level of high respectability. And you understand that already, because you already understand the hierarchy of designer in retail. It's the exact same thing. Okay, there is a hierarchy in visual representation. There's a hierarchy in your reputation. You know, there's a hierarchy in all of those different things. So you just need to consider, if you are the fun, friendly, you know, £7 per child, come and dance around in ladybird costume place, then lean into that, you know, recognize where you're at and lean into it. But for your market research, once you have recognized exactly where you place in the market and you're happy with it, stop looking at everybody else. Stop looking. At that moment, when you realize where you are in the market and you're comfortable and you've done all the actions you need to do to make that very, very clear. And I mean this in a loving way, but I think the problem with dance schools in particular is that you have a very, very difficult job, more difficult than people will ever give you credit for, because you are a high level, high risk enterprise in terms of the education that you provide, the education you need to have to be able to provide it, and the safety that you are required when dealing with all ages, with dealing with shows, with dealing with concepts. In this world right now, it's a heavy burden. Okay. And you have all of those things that you need to consider before you even get out there. So once you're comfortable, once you know you've got everything down, stop looking at the competitor. You cannot look at what they're charging. You cannot look at what shows they're doing. You cannot look at where they're sourcing their costumes. You can't look at their gradings. You can't look at how many of their students passed their gradings. You can't look at how many of their students are getting auditions in London. Like, you have to own your own situation and be brave enough to not look, because the problem with it is it's very easy to be distracted, it's very easy to be swayed, and it's very easy for you to be knocked off your focus long enough that you're so busy worrying about what the next guy down the street is doing that you lose that essence that you built in the market placement. Once you're comfortable, eyes forward, you know what you're doing, that bravery will pay off. Keep your eyes on yourself and your own students, your own clients. You'll be fine.
Oh, I love that. I really love that. And I think sometimes the whole imposter syndrome or the panic of what if everyone's going to leave because they're going to want what that person does, so maybe I should do what that person does. What we don't always see is we don't see the bigger picture of what our competitors are doing. And whilst we might see a school down the road taking all their kids to Los Angeles and them all having this wonderful time and going on the plane and getting this incredible experience, and you're thinking, oh my God, I've never taken my kids to Los Angeles to dance or perform. What you don't realize is that's the only thing they do. That's the only thing they're doing all year. Everything is based around that. You're trying to do exams and shows and competitions and all these other things. And so we don't see the bigger picture of what somebody else is doing within their school. And it's very dangerous to get sucked into that. So that's a really piece of advice to it. Thank you. Stay in your lane, I think, is what we all hear. Stay, your blinkers on, stay in your lane.
Yeah, like try many things, but make sure that the motivation for trying those things comes intrinsically, not from outward.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy, like you say, to look at somebody else and be like, oh, what they're doing is fantastic. You've got no idea. You got no idea the stress. They might have remortgaged their house to make that look online like it worked when it didn't, and I think at the end of the day, everybody is slightly leaning towards different elements for their purpose. You have to lean into that bit. Your purpose is not because Sally down the road is doing that, so then you feel like you should do it. That level of copying is so difficult because we get swayed by it and we go, oh, that's a good idea. And that imposter syndrome goes, yeah, maybe you're not very good at this. You didn't even think of that, did you? There was a reason you didn't think of it. There was a reason it wasn't there in your heart. It was in somebody else's for their reasons, and that's got nothing to do with us. But there was a reason it wasn't. And it's not because you missed a great opportunity necessarily. It's because it wasn't intrinsically in you to feel the need to provide that. You're providing something different. And what we do is we drop the thing that we're actually meant to be doing to try and compare ourselves to somebody else. Ultimately always fails, always costs us more emotionally and financially. And in the end, all we end up looking like is a cheap imitation of somebody else's idea. And there's nothing worse. That's the moment when churn becomes a problem, because what you've actively done as well is you've made yourself on the same level as somebody else. You've then given the client, you've given the customer, the student, the opportunity to have even more choice because you look the same.
Yeah, great point. Thank you. Thank you for so much for sharing that. And talking about sharing, I'm so thrilled for all of our members and non-members, those people that bought guest passes that are coming to the Dance Business Conference this August, because you guys get to hang out with Dawni in person. She has very kindly offered to come and speak at our conference this year. And we're going to touch a little bit on AI when you come to talk to us, because you are, an absolute minefield of knowledge around AI in terms of marketing and business and digital presence. So I can't wait for your session, but can't wait to just have you there with us, Dawni. I just know that you'll be just such a beautiful fit and everyone's going to really enjoy meeting you in person. So I bet this has been a really nice introduction, just so that people can all meet my Dawni before coming to conference. So in advance, thank you for agreeing to speak at the conference this year.
You're very welcome. Thank you. I'm honoured to be there, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. Our conference is not like any other event you will have spoken at before. It's lots of energy, lots of you've got a whole room full of performers. What can I say?
I'm going to be so at home. It's unreal. It's going to be really nice.
Yeah. Thank you. I like to end my podcasts with 4 or 5 quick questions I just throw at you, and you just throw them back at me.
I'll try to be quick as well.
Yes. Might get a bit of a challenge, but we can try.
Right.
I'll start with a really easy one. Favorite ice cream?
Oh, mint chocolate chip.
Okay. Favorite business book?
Oh, that's a good one. It's not a business book. The Courage to be Disliked.
Oh, who's that by? Do you know? Can you remember?
I don't know, but I can tell you later.
Okay. Favorite holiday vacation?
This is difficult. I think Dominican Republic so far. But I am a world traveler, so I have a few on that list.
Yeah. Okay. We'll settle for that. Favorite TV nibbles?
Oh, okay. Hear me out.
Dawni, this isn't supposed to be the one that takes you 10 minutes to answer. This is a really easy one.
It is easy, but it's weird. You're about to see some of my weird beef hula hoops and honey nut cornflakes in a bowl together. Try it, just try it.
I feel like I'm gonna have to try that. I don't know if I can get all in France, but maybe when I come back to the UK, I'm gonna do that, especially for you. Take a picture and tag you.
You've got to try it at least once.
I'll tell you whether you're genius or just an absolute fruitcake, one or the other. One thing you wish you knew about business before you started, obviously.
Oh,
It's not.
the disappointment in the level of professionalism out there in the world. I think somebody should have sat me down and said, Dawni, there are two things that are very common, which is almost everyone can have a child and almost everyone can have a business. And in the same way, not everyone is an excellent parent.
Yeah, that's a good one. That is a good one.
In corporate, you just expect that entrepreneurs out in the world will have a level of professionalism, because in corporate you would not get away with not having that.
Yeah.
And that was a massive thing for me, working with people with massive billions, massive businesses, millionaires, and the professionalism, not always the millionaires, just in general, but like there are a lot of people out there that are playing at this and playing with you.
Yeah. And that's probably another podcast. We'll save that.
Yeah, that's one for the therapist, that one.
Dawni, thank you so much. It's been an absolute joy finding out about you, your business, your journey, what you do for people, and then some really great tips and things that people have taken away. I feel like I could sit here all day, but I know you're a busy lady and I need to let you get on. But I look forward to seeing you, a couple more times this year at least. But specifically, I'm really excited for my members to meet you at conference. So we will see you in August. And thank you so much, my darling.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.